Hello, good morning, and welcome to Q Sports. I am Amadou Tamba, and thank you for joining us. Coming up, it wasn't a good day for Gambia as the Scorpions defeated Comoros defeated Gambia in the Total Energies African Cup of Nations, meaning the Gambia has missed out on a place in the African Cup of Nations in Morocco. Today's discussion will entirely center on the Scorpions, and we will also take a brief look at other results from the qualifiers. Now, last night was a tough one for the Gambia and Gambian football. The Scorpions, under coach Jonathan McKinstry, were defeated 2-1 by Comoros in the CAF Total Energies Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers for the 2025 edition in Morocco. Joining me this morning to discuss the game is, of course, my colleague, a sports journalist with Capital FM, Sehtijan Gay. And we will also be joined by the assistant coach of the Gambia Under-20, assistant coach, of course, Yaya Mane, who is also the head coach of the women's national team, and also the head coach of the Gambia Under-17. So it's going to be a fruitful discussion this morning. But first, we will hear from the Gambian gaffer Jonathan McKinstry after the 2-1 defeat to Comoros last night in Morocco.
Today, for us, we're extremely disappointed and downcast. It's so frustrating to have taken the lead in the game and then sort of to have withheld. Comoros then came into it a little bit more and we withheld it. And actually, when we concede is a period where we're sort of comfortable. We're passing the ball around well. And as a team, we lose possession in the middle of the field in a way that we simply shouldn't. And Comoros capitalized very, very well. Second half, I thought the guys, they worked extremely hard, a lot of quality. We've hit the post, we've hit the crossbar. Their goalkeepers made a great save from Abdoulaye Cisse. But yeah, it's one of those days that it couldn't work for us. And then as we're pushing to get that goal, obviously Comoros catch us with the winning goal. So it's extremely disappointing from our point of view. But there's a lot of disappointed guys in the dressing room. But this is football. I said to the guys, everyone who's been in the game long enough has these days. So we've just got to process it and we've got to pick ourselves up and we've got to go again. Tunisia on Monday and then back into the World Cup qualifying. Yeah, look, football has two sides to it. Everyone demands results. I demand results. The supporters demand results. The players demand results. But at the same time, we've seen so often that sometimes even teams that get results, then people want results in a certain way, a certain style of football. They want to maybe... It's always been an entertainment industry, but I think now it's even more of an entertainment industry than it's ever been. So there's an expectation of how we play. And, for me, I think we can't thank the players enough for their efforts in the transition from maybe the way they played successfully before to what we're trying to do now. And so much of it is journeys. Look, Man City in their first season didn't win. Liverpool in their first season didn't win after that transition with Klopp. And so we've not won today, but you look at some of the performances there tonight, especially for some of the young guys. Some of the young guys who are, 20, 22, 24 years old. The future's super bright for this Gambian team. And I think this defeat is also going to be part of that future because that pain, that suffering, that becomes part of your DNA and you use it to be successful in the future. Yeah, look, I think the nature of it is that you talk about going back to the drawing board, but we in essence went to the drawing board whilst succeeding because the drawing board suggests change. And what we did, what the Federation were very brave to do, was to say, okay, we've been successful playing the type of football we saw Comoros playing today. And that low block, that fast break counterattack, in my opinion, to say, look, we could stay like this and maybe qualify. It's an apology that we weren't able to get the results that everyone desired. But I do hope that those watching, whether they were able to make it to the stadium here or they're able to watch on TV back in the Gambia, I hope a lot of them or all of them can see what we're trying to do, see where we're trying to go with the team. they've stuck with us so far from a distance. We really hope when we play in March back in the World Cup that we'll be back in Bakau. We really hope for that. And I know the Gambian supporters are with us. I know that. It's not even a question. And so we move on, and we want to make you proud again going into the next.
Scorpions coach Jonathan McKinstry speaking there yesterday night in Morocco after the Gambia's 2-1 defeat to Comoros, meaning AFCON 2025 in Morocco will play in the absence of the Gambia, as the Scorpions could not clinch a place for the third consecutive time in Africa's biggest football competition. I'm now joined by Sehtijan Gay, and of course we will have Yahya Mane a little later. Seh, thank you very much for honoring the invitation, and once again it's a pleasure to share a platform with you. Good to have you on this platform this morning.
Yes, thank you very much, Hams, and I think a good number of the spectators watching today have reminiscence of our duo back in Capital FM. We grew up together, did a lot of things together, and here we are. And of course, it's always a pleasure to share the same platform once again with you.
Thank you. You must have watched the game yesterday, being it on TV or online. How do you perceive the whole happenings of the 90 minutes in Morocco?
Yeah, we are journalists, sometimes come pundits, but first of all, we are fans. And definitely we were watching it on a fan point of view. And that sometimes would make you not to even think straight or even reflect straight. But after the game, after everything went on, it took me 15, 20, up to 30 minutes to reflect and absorb everything. And looking at it right now, probably back then, if just a few minutes after the game, I would have said some crazy or stupid things and all as a fan. But right now, reflecting on it, you will see, of course, a lot of negatives, a lot of disappointment. But definitely, you would also reflect on some of the positive. And we cannot say we've never seen this coming. It has been coming. But sometimes you would believe that, well, as far as it is never over, it is not over, it is never over. Something miraculous can happen. But from day one, I think the number of goals that we conceded, how sloppy we can be, particularly in defense, and sometimes how we missed our chances. That's the biggest disappointment. So one could have anticipated this, but we were always like, well, we have what it takes to qualify. And some would argue of the stadium factor. It's a factor, but if you look at across Africa, 40 to 50% of the teams have played home away from home. 40 to 50% of the teams do not have stadium, and a good number of them have qualified. So I don't see any reason why we could not have qualified. But looking at it at a different angle, there are a lot of things, particularly the game yesterday, there were a lot of things that did not go right, and we've seen it coming. Probably some players have done something in the previous campaign, have done a lot of good things for the Gambia that I would not say they are immune from criticism, but the coach would always give them the benefit of the doubt based on the fact of their experience and what they have done for the country. But I would not say they've disappointed, but they've not lived up to the bidding, particularly in defense. Well, we can talk about individuals. I personally want to always talk about the team, because it is the team that wins and loses.
Yes.
But a defense is always a unit. If I'm your partner, I'll expect and anticipate that if I make a mistake, you cover me.
Mm-hmm.
But how many times were mistakes made in the entire qualifiers, even the last qualifiers, the last African Cup of Nations finals, this one, how many times did, let's say, particularly James made a mistake, and how many times was he covered? Very, very few occasions. And how many times do Omar Colley make a mistake, or how many times was he not in position and James covered him?
Yeah.
A lot of times. And if you look at James, bar the mistake that he made yesterday, it was on his right side, because he was playing on the right side and Omar was playing on the left side. But if you reflect back on all his previous mistakes, most of them, he made it on the left-hand side, that is Omar's end.
Yeah.
Maybe Omar was breached, James would move on to the left-hand side in order to cover him, and that is where he normally makes the mistake. And as a defender, you always are much more vulnerable when you are playing on your weak foot. And most of his mistakes were on the left side. I'm not going to play down the mistake that he did yesterday, but what I'm trying to say, as a unit, you cover your partner.
Yes.
If you look at Ramos and Pepe, they were always covering each other. If you look at, of course, Terry and Carvalho, every one of them would make mistake, the other would cover it. But that was not happening in the Gambia, and maybe we are not just talking about them individually, but as a unit. That's an issue, and that is an area that we need to look at. And in midfield, we had like-for-like players that were. Ibu Adams was the difference in terms of profile, but he did not do that sustainably in the entire first half. Come the second half, we've seen Abubakar Bari fearless. We've seen, of course, Mahmoud Bajo. Right. How many tackles have he won? I think if Mahmoud was not there in the second half, the breaks of the Comoros players could have resulted to a bigger scoreline. But he came, won a lot of tackles, fearless and all. And we've seen good glimpses of where we can go going forward. But at this point of time, what happened yesterday and what happened in the entire qualifiers is hugely disappointing. But we've seen it coming. And up front, we can always spoke about the chances that we missed. But generally, I think we've seen it coming. It's disappointing. But what we need to do is be critical of the performance, be critical of some errors that we made, but also what do we need to do going forward, because this has gone. A lot of very big teams have had problems, have had setbacks, but they always find ways and means of bouncing back in style, and that is what we need to do right now.
So, looking at these qualifiers for the Gambia, I've said this earlier on, that from day one, the first two games for the Scorpions should have been maximum 6 points, judging by the way we play, and the chances that we created are absolute very good chances, and we should have taken them. But again, you look at the goals that we concede, teams score us at a very easy way. And then generally, overall, when I sit and picture the qualifiers from day one to where we are, looking at the caliber of players that we have and what they've been doing for their respective clubs, and when they come into the national team, the way they play, one will sense that, look, there is something wrong somewhere in this national team, because you will feel like, okay, the players are not giving their best, because we all know what they do at their respective clubs. They've been scoring absolutely classic goals, and their work rate at their clubs. Most of these players are players who play consecutively for their clubs and winning man of the match accolades. So when they come into the national team, it becomes a different story. And that is where people will question the willingness, the commitment of these players, and then whether there is something wrong within this national team that we need to figure out going into future games or future qualifiers.
Yeah, I think first, a team is not only a selection of best players, as the coach have said. A team is, of course, the players that can play best together.
Exactly.
And as of course a fan, you would expect and anticipate that a player that does well at his club side would, of course, make the same reflection at country level. But one thing that shouldn't be compromised is the commitment.
Exactly.
And honestly speaking, I think it has started during the last phase of Tom's era. To be honest, if you are observant, yes. I didn't travel to, of course, Cameroon, but if you are observant enough, and if you look at the body language of some players, if you look at some of the things that comes out from the dressing room, I would not say we've had camps and all. That is normal, that everywhere you go to, you will have people that are normally very closer together than the rest of the group. That has happened. But if you look at the toxicity in the dressing room in the later days of Tom era, if you look at how some players were bold enough to challenge some of his decisions, which is understandable, and the body language of some of the players, you would definitely know that something was grooming.
Yes.
We totally had a new era. When I would not say total, we had a new coach when Jonathan came. But in the first 2-3 games, or in most of the games, you would see one or two things that would give you an indication that this player might not be happy with some of the minutes that he is given. This player is not happy to be taken off. And I don't want to mention some of these things, but Jonathan, although during press conferences, when he is being pushed on the corner about the inavailability of players, he is always there to defend them and all, which you expect from a coach.
Exactly.
But if you look at some of his selection choices, and some of the players that have shown some attitudes, or some of the players that have not lived up to the bidding, he would always either not select them or give somebody else a chance. That has been seen in some occasions. But as I said earlier, some players along the way have earned the respect, the trust, and maybe their past performances have given them kind of right to be given the chance to perform. And a young coach as Jonathan McKinstry, he would not come on his first spell with the Gambia, 4, 5, 6 months, and he would be so ruthless and then chop out some important players. Maybe at that point of time he might lose the dressing room. But if he gives everybody the opportunity to come and play and give your utmost best or disappoint, he will look at you and say, my friend, I've given you opportunity, you've not given me the chance, I'm going to select somebody else. And then collectively the nation would agree with that. And if you look at the number of young players that he has given the opportunity, you will definitely know that this is a coach. He might make mistakes along the way, but he's not afraid of making decisions. We were losing. Abubakar Bari, inexperience, came on. Or we were drawing back, then Abubakar Bari came on, Mahmoud Bajo came on, Suleiman Kamara came on the last game, he was on the bench. A lot of young players were given their opportunity. So I'll not be surprised if he continues with that trend, particularly in the World Cup qualifiers. But Gambia generally, we've covered the league here. We've known some of the attitude of the players. Our work rate, particularly off the ball, can always be questioned. Even that happens here in our league. The star players or the player that is most revered is the one that, of course, plays with the ball. But without the ball, the ones that do the work most of the time is not given the credit that is due to him. And some of the players would have the luxury that if I am the one that create the chances, well, others do the marking, others do the tackling, others do the running, give me the ball. And with the modern game, that is unacceptable. Go everywhere in the world. There are only 2 players now who have that luxury, which is Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi. And they are fading away. Everywhere you go to, everybody have to contribute offensively and defensively. And some of our players, that attitude, sometimes they show it here in the Gambia. But whether they like it or not, if they don't adjust, the game and the situation and other players would make them fade away. And that would happen whether we like it or not. We can point fingers, we can say about things, but sometimes I personally, I always want to reflect on the performance of the group. And the performance of the group is not good enough, but the group is made up of individuals. And sometimes you look at certain individuals, you definitely know that they did not live up to the bidding, but all said and done, if results do not go your way, these things would of course emanate, but it has been there well before. Maybe it has been masked by some of the positive results or the lucky results we had along the way.
During Tom's era, Musa Barrow, Abdoulaye Jallow, Jamano were some of the players who absolutely stepped up to the plate. But at the moment, they're finding it difficult to grip their form and get Gambia firing, because the first goal that we scored in an AFCON tournament was scored by Abdoulaye Jallow, and it was assisted by Musa Barrow. And those duo really played a pivotal role in Gambia getting all the way to the quarterfinals. Musa even scored the goal that propelled the Gambia to the quarterfinals. But of recent, is it a lack of form, or they're not taking the full responsibility of saying, look, this is the Gambia, and we've been here for a while now, coupled with some of these youngsters who are coming through the line. So we have to step up and take the leadership role to ensure that we keep this team firing.
Yeah, I think players have their attributes, meaning have their advantages, and have, of course, their disadvantages. And also, the current form of the player matters a lot. If you look at Abdoulaye Jallow Jamano, he has been struggling with niggling injuries, and his last major injury, he got it playing for the Gambia. That is the last AFCON, when he limped off, and then even the Mets playoffs to stay in the Ligue 1, he virtually missed it. He came on in a World Cup qualifiers, could not play, and then from there to date, he's no longer the Abdoulaye Jallow that we used to know because of that niggling injury. And at this point of time, I think to give him much more defensive responsibility, or for him to drag down in our own half to play the ball would cause us a lot of havoc, the goal that we considered. Because if you look at his size, well, during duels, Abdoulaye would most of the time lose it with, of course, an opponent with a bigger size. And that was what exactly happened. Abdoulaye is much more productive on one-on-one, or much more productive some 20, 30 yards inside the opponent's area, because with there he can whip in a very great goal. He's fond of scoring goals. But the fact that he's catching up, injuries is catching up with him, his legs is catching up with him, I think to expect what he has been doing before, to do it constantly, particularly at this point of time in his career with the injuries that he has gone through, is to ask a lot of him. So that's why I believe he would not have been much more productive if he was restrained enough to play upwards rather than collecting the ball in our own half. That is in Ablai's case. In Musa Barrow's case, I think the spectacular goals that he has scored along the way and his long range shot of a speciality have given him the belief that he can score anywhere. I've said it in some of the other platforms. But imagine if Musa Barrow is to add a lot of assists in his games. Imagine if at one point of time he says, let me find Badamusi, let me find Abdoulaye Cissé, let me find the strikers, let me find an opponent. If he decides to do that much more constantly, then he would be not only a spectacular goal scorer, but an assist king. But most of the time, he is so confident of himself that let me take the shot anywhere. Sometimes he scores them, but if he misses them, it's frustrating. And I think that is something that he needs to add to his game, because whenever he decides to make an assist, he would do it. Yesterday, he made the assist for the goal. When we were trailing against Congo, he made those 2 great assists. So that is something that he needs to add to his game, and sometimes it is where he plays. Sometimes the coach incorporates him because the goals that he scores. But I believe he is much more productive when he plays behind the strikers, because when he plays out wide, sometimes in the modern game you need wingers that are fast, but Musa would not run with the ball. Whenever he plays out wide, if you give him the ball, he cuts inside, looking for that shot or looking for that pass to play 1-2 with, let's say, the incoming midfield player, and then find space for himself. But when he was playing out wide, he was less productive up until he decided to cross that ball, which of course was scored by Bambalai. So all these things happen in a game, but at one point of time, we need to look at everybody into the eye and tell you that whatever you are doing, you could do way better. And that's the hard fact. But as I said, some players, what they have done for the Gambia have made them being immune to too much criticism. But going forward, football is about today. What happens today? What happened yesterday is history. Going today, if you are not able to live up to the bidding, somebody else should be given his chance. And if that individual shows enough quality, that individual would end up playing. And I'm not expecting a drastic change in whatever the coach is doing, but I'm pretty sure a good number of the young players will be knocking on the doors of that particular coach. And with some of the performances of some of them, we would see, I would not say we'll see major heads rule, but if you don't live up to the bidding, somebody else would come from the bench and do something.
One will question that you have very good players, and at the press conference, you and I were there. He talked about the inclusion of Abubakar Barry, saying we don't have most of those players in the national team at the moment, and him coming in, it's going to help the team a lot. And one will be surprised. Yes, though you will say he's inexperienced when it comes to the national team, but sometimes you give inexperienced players and they will pop up to the pitch and do the goods for you. Sitting him on the bench, and he came on in the second half and absolutely contributed immensely. You could see the qualities that he had. And the coach talked about the performance of the young players. Mahmoudou Bajo, Abubakar Barry, and some of them who were on the bench, Abdoulaye Cissé, the striker. Just like you said, most of those players will be knocking on the doors that, look, coach, we are ready and we want to step up onto the plate. Does this give the coach now a bigger picture to say, okay, I need to do A, B, and C to ensure that I tick the right boxes? Because, as he said, the coach in himself want result, players want result. Most especially the fans demand results as well.
Yeah, that's a hard fact. I'm sure the coach would have a lot of sleepless nights going to the Tunisia game, but his future, we will see glimpses of what he expects in the future, or what he is going to do in the future in the Tunisia game, because the rebuild stands from Tunisia game. We are no longer qualifying.
Yes.
What would he do? Would he give the youngsters the opportunity to say, my friend, go and show us what you can do? And then if you do enough, the World Cup qualifiers, our chances of qualifying is very slim, but we can use that to rebuild for the next AFCON. We can use that to give a lot of young players the opportunity to prove themselves. And some of the older guys who we've already known what they can do, and some of them cannot improve past the level that they are, because age is going to catch up with them, injuries is going to catch up with them. But give opportunities to young players. If they showed enough quality that they can claim the position of this already established player, give them the chance. And I'm pretty sure, probably against Tunisia, why not we see Mamadou Lion Jai? We've had a lot of glowing reports about him. I was lucky enough to see some of his highlights. Honestly, he's a more than fast defender who can win duels, who can play with the front foot. Give him a chance. give Joseph, I'm pretty sure, would come back. Give Abubakar Bari a start and Mahmoud Bajo and see what they can do. And Abdoulaye Cisse, give him a start up front, or Alassane Jatta, give him a start up front. Give Suleiman Kamara, let's say, a start up front and see. If I were the coach, I would look at Yankuba Minteh and say, you're just from injury. We know what you can do. Go back to Brighton and get prepared for the weekend. And maybe Omar Colley, we've seen what you can do. Maybe go back to Poke FC and then prepare for the weekend game. Let's give the youngsters their chances because we have nothing to play for. And start with that and then let's see. But I'm pretty sure some of us might be still reminiscing of what some of these players have done greatly for us. But football at sometimes requires ruthlessness, particularly when results are at stake. And at this point of time, results were at stake. I'm not expecting an entire clear out, but I'm expecting a new direction with some of the young players, hungry players that need to, of course, solder the team. And along the way, how many good players were left from this squad? Rashid is a classic example.
Absolutely.
The efforts that he has done, his positive stats is out there for everybody to see. And you give that player the opportunity, where he went, what he went through from the trenches of Gunjur to where he is, how difficult it was for him when all his colleagues went to trials from the past under 20 and he was here. He was virtually the last alongside Mansour Mbaye to leave. With all that disappointment, he kept on performing up to the time that his opportunity came, and then you see how consistent he's being performing. He doesn't worry to play at left back, at this centre half, in midfield. So that player, how hungry he is, give him the chance and see what he could do and what he would do. And by March, I'm anticipating, I'm expecting not a totally new team, but a lot of inclusion of young players, because this is what we expect to solder the Gambia, because these players have made us dream. A good number of them have made us dream, have made us laugh, have made us live something that we've never expected. Our predecessors as sports journalists never commentated or, of course, made punditry work on Gambia going to qualifiers, or Gambia going to African Cup of Nations, Gambia qualifying, Gambia going to the quarterfinals. We managed to experience that, and thanks to them. But as I said, football is about what happens today.
Exactly.
Some of them, of course, will continue to do what they have been doing very well, but they need to be challenged, and for them to be challenged, opportunities have to be given to some other people.
One will look at the current generation of players that we have, especially in midfield. You look at the likes of Mahmoud Bajo, Aruna Rashid Njai, Abubakar Bari, the likes of Hamza have not even made the last or disqualifiers as well. And up front, we have very good players as well. Alassane Jatta, Abdoulaye Cisse, as you mentioned. The likes of Abdoulaye Sanyang, Bambala is still there. The likes of Jibril Silla still does not get the opportunity to be with the national team. The Musa Juara. So many youngsters out there, and the final decision is down to the coach to see how he's going to fuse those players into the national team and integrate them in going forward. So now we're going to take a short break. When we return, we will of course be joined by Yahya Mane, and then we will open the telephone lines for you out there to have your say as the Gambia miss out in the African Cup of Nations.
Introducing the Q-Smart and Q-Smart Plus, where innovation meets affordability. Capture life's precious moments with stunning clarity thanks to our high-resolution cameras. Enjoy uninterrupted performance with a fast processor and a long-lasting battery that keeps up with your day. The Q-Smart offers a 5.9-inch immersive display, powerful performance, and an all-day battery life, all for just $3,400. Plus get an incredible bundle of 15 gigabytes of data, 120 minutes of talk time, and 300 SMS absolutely free. Upgrade to the Q-Smart Plus, featuring a faster processor and extended battery life, and a larger 6.5-inch screen for just $4,000. With it, you receive a massive 30 gigabytes of data, 300 SMS, and 120 minutes of talk time completely free. All bundles are spread across a 3-month period. Don't miss out. Get your Q-Smart or Q-Smart Plus from QCell today. Discover the best in quality and value right here in the Gambia. Available at all QCell customer care centers across the country. For more information, call 111. QCell mobile communication with a device that brings you back to basics: quality, simplicity, and reliability. The Q Mobile is designed to fit seamlessly into your life, offering essential features without the fuss. 72-hour battery life, keeping you connected longer. Listen to news, prayers, or your favorite shows with the FM radio on Q Phone. A built-in torchlight, always ready when you need it, memory card slot for expandable storage, and dual SIM capability for flexibility and convenience. Why wait? Step into any of our care centers today and get your hands on the most affordable phone for just $600. Plus, enjoy a bonus package of 300 minutes talk time and 300 SMS spread over 3 months. Absolutely free. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, senior boss. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Q Sports on the QTV on our studios in Caraba Avenue. Of course, we now joined by Yahya Mane, the head coach of the Gambia under 17, as we are looking at the Scorpions' failure to qualify to the Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2025. Yahya, good morning and welcome back to this platform once again.
Thank you, Mr. Tamba, for having me, and welcome, Mr. Setijan, for the first time being on the same platform.
It's good. Coaches and journalists. So I did this to get the two angles of this, because it's absolutely very important. There has been disappointments all over the country and those outside. As a coach, how do you receive the news of seeing Gambia fail to qualify to the AFCON? Either you watch it on TV or you watch it online, but at the end of the day, the bad news is that we failed to reach Morocco.
To be honest, I think it was a blow when I saw the final scoreline results. I was watching it on my mobile phone. It's a blow in the sense that the Gambia was not able to make it back to the African Cup of Nations. And also, you look through the other youth teams also are not able to make it up. So, but here the contention is mostly on the senior national team, which, to be honest, as I said before, is a blow. But also, we will have to understand the team is going on a transition. So, from a style of play to another style of play. But also, you could see the injection of very young players in the team, which was very rare to have previously also. Also, again, something that people might not recognize might be the leadership within the team also is changing, because initially in the era of Tom, you had leadership, which to me I think was very much good, because Tom will stay on the outside, but in the inside of the pitch, you see effective leadership going up in the team. So those are some of the small factors that we might put up together and see that yes, we failed, because if we had get right in these factors, then I think it would have been a better one for us.
Looking at the overall qualifiers from match day 1 till where we are, match day 5, where do you think Gambia lost its touching to qualification?
Yes, to me, it's most about the defending. The defending aspect of it, I think, we need to massively improve, because you look at the way and manage concede goals. They could have been very much avoided if we were working together as a solid defense line. Though in defending, it's like it's everybody's responsibility on the pitch. But again, when you go back to the units on the pitch, you have the offensive, the creative, that's the midfield, and the defensive. So, but again, in that way, how I see the coordination of the defense line, to me, wasn't too much balanced enough. And again, there was no effectiveness in defending. So in the back line unit, I think we could have avoided a lot of goals in this qualifiers, which we didn't. At the end of the day, it cost us the price. But I hope it's going to be a learning point for us, and we're going to move on from there.
Yeah, generally when you look at this team, because as a coach, before you call players, you'll sit down and look at them, monitor everyone, see what they're doing, see their capabilities before inviting them to the national team. And now when they come into the national team, you look at their performance. Do you sense that there is something missing as to these players that we have in the current dispensation? Because most of the Gambians out there will understand that yes, there is quality, but when they step into the plate of the national team, it becomes a different thing.
Yes, playing for the country and playing for your club, to me, are a bit different, because when you look at playing for a club, like, you have a lot of time with your teammates, the cohesion is there. I mean, so what can make that happen in the national team, I think, would have been taking ownership of the national team. So when the players come, let's say that when they come into camp to prepare for a day, for a match, it's like almost 3 days before the game that they will come together. It's about taking responsibility effectively, and we all have to accept that we have to take ownership. This is the Gambia that we have. We must put all efforts together. So literally you see the difference between players playing for the national team and playing for the club. But again, to me, it's like the club, they have more time together. So but national team, they have less time. But what can make it happen is like effective responsibility to be taken, but moreover taking ownership of the national team.
And it got to do with the badge.
Absolutely, it has to.
Yeah. Exactly. We will be opening the telephone lines, the numbers that you are seeing on the screen. You can, of course, call wherever you are in the country to share your thoughts with us as the Gambia failed to reach Morocco 2025. Yeah, now going into the qualifiers, a new coach transition, we failed to reach Morocco. The World Cup qualifiers is coming. What is the way forward for the team now?
If I was in the shoe of the coach, I would like continue on with my concept of play. That is like more of an attacking football. But also, I will also accept that the team at some point, some certain players are aging. But again, I need to have a recruitment of new players. So going into the World Cup qualifiers, which we don't have that much to play for, so would have been used as an avenue of like how can we prepare the next generation of players to come to take up the responsibility for the 2027 qualifiers of the AFCON. So that would have been another dimension for the coach if he continues on with his job.
I will engage you on this one because I think a question like that came up at the press conference. The mentality of the players going into that game against Comoros, because we have to understand what is on the table for the Gambia. But we scored an early goal in the first half, but we were so comfortable playing the ball around and playing it back. That tells us that, look, the players feel very comfortable with one goal, and one goal can be chopped off at any minute. And Comoros did the same. They just equalized, and they kept pushing as if they wanted it more than us. And they got the goal in the 90th minute where we are all dead and buried.
You see, that's what I told you about taking ownership of the national team or the national colors. So at some point, it's not about the coach, he's outside there, but again, it's about us on the pitch there. How much are we able to take the ownership of the team and take effective responsibility? So when we scored, yes, I was watching the game, but to me, at some point, that was the time that we went more sloppy on the game, losing more balls in the midfield. I mean, passes were much. Small passes were too much on the pitch. So would have been with effective leadership on the pitch. Would have been let's speak to our language. Cold falling. Yes. I mean, we have to die for it. Then from there on, I think the mentality would have changed. If there was like effective leadership on the pitch, so it triggers performance. How effective that leadership would have been on the pitch. Yes, the captain is doing good, but to me, I think he could have done much better than that.
Yes,
with the leadership quality that he has, because he worked with the previous captains. He saw how much. I mean, the previous captain were able to push the team to the level he is. I mean, he has played with a lot of generations. From the time of Abu Dhabi as a captain, he played with all of those, I mean, up to today. So if I was there, like, would have been, can I put up all those leadership qualities I got from all these people to try to inject on these young players now? Because the generation is changing. So it's now his responsibility to align all these people towards the mentality of a national team.
Yeah.
So I think if that was effective leadership on the pitch, I think we could have done something out from this game.
Important, say, as I said, effective leadership and effective communication. That takes me back to when we were beating Brazil at the under-17, the days of Ousmane Diallo, Mamadou Cissé, Zico. Even if you're watching the game on TV, you'll hear their communication. Zico, Mugenyo, Pasa, Mungsa. So you take that ownership and you communicate in your own language that the team that you're playing against will find it very difficult to understand what these people are saying.
Yes, I think we've made mention about that before Yaya came, about some of the issues that have rumbled out of the dressing room during the latter days of Tom's era and what has happened. I think these things happen in football. Yaya is a coach who will definitely know that. Yeah. But when we had Pamoudou Diagne, when we had leaders like Suleiman Mare, when we had leaders like Hassan Cissé and others, these things happen, but they know how to deal with it, because they've played with a lot of players. They've shown the disappointment of the Gambia playing a lot of qualifiers failing. And at one point of time, when the opportunity came back in 2021, they used all their experience and the pain that they've gone through in order to help us qualify. And during the first AFCON, that was really taking us, as Yaya said. So at some point of time, it was not about the tactics of the coach. It's about what Pamudu would tell some of these players, what Suleiman Mare would tell them. And when these people, some of them retired, Saul Mare is injured, Hassan is injured, now we only have Omar Koli. Does he have that huge voice in order to bring everybody on board? Does he have that huge voice to tell, hey, Mr. X, Y, and Z, we need to do this? Does he have that huge voice at one point in time and say, we're not going to do some of these things the coach tell us, we are here in the field, let's do this and this to go through? That was not evident on what we have seen, because at one point of time, I was like, especially just before we conceded that corner, I saw him standing, and then he was calmly talking to some of these players that to position themselves. At that point of time, it was not about talking calmly.
Yes.
It's about being bold. Hey, do this, do this, do that. And that should be seen on your face. Well, maybe it has to do with his personality, but as Yaya said, at one point of time, it was about, hey, then what are the Luwad AFCON?
Exactly.
And this is in our hands. Even before we considered the second goal, we were on top. If we continued on that trend, we had the chances of scoring, but we were so lackluster, so lackluster. That goal that we considered, we had 3 opportunities to clear it. 3 opportunities, we missed it. They crossed it, it went to a corner. They crossed the corner, we had the opportunity to clear it. They recycled it and crossed it and scored it. That was so lackluster, and with a lot of communication, with a lot of urgency, that could have been avoided. But these are things we should learn from these things and move on. And this Yaya knew these players that are currently knocking on the doors. He was with them in Mauritania. He was with them at Argentina. He knows how hungry some of these players are, and he knows if given the opportunity, how much ready they would be there to give their utmost best. Although I'm not advocating for everybody to move forward, move out, and then bring a new breed of players, but if anybody is playing constantly, if anybody is showing signs of how good he is, give him the chance and see what he can deliver. And if he delivers to the good, if a particular older player's position is at risk, my friend, you tell him, my friend, well, this player has given me headache as a coach, and I've given him the opportunity, has shown me what he can do. And if I'm honest enough with you, I can be calling you upon, but I'm relying more on your experience to guide these young players, but I'm not going to guarantee you a lot of playing time. Sometimes you need clarity with these older players, and whether we like it or not, that is the direction that we are going to, but it needs smooth transition. The coach have to be intelligent enough to know how to do it, because at one point of time, if he forces it or if he fast track it, it might create some friction and some division into the team, and it might be it might create a lot of havoc in the future.
Absolutely. He made mention of Hassan Cisse when we were trailing in Morocco against Congo, 2-0 in the first half. Hassan was really bitter, and in the dressing room he spoke on top of his voice that look, the likes of Eboy and Musa Barrow, whenever they get the ball, these defenders are hard on them, so why can't we go hard on them? We need this, we are better than this. And when they came back in the second half, it was a different team.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We were down 2-0, we equalized and got 2-2 and qualified to the AFCON. So it's really very important right now that we get things like this. But the coach earlier on in his post-match press conference talked about the performance of the youngsters who came in. He was happy with that. Mahmoudou Bajo, an absolute brilliant player. You know him. You worked so much time with him. Abubakar Bari, a lot of people are saying he's an absolute brilliant player. Others are even saying he's better than his brother, that is Hamza Bari. Aruna Rashid Njai, he has played
It's too early to say that.
Well, but at the end of the day,
he's good, but it's too early to say that.
Hamza is his role model. That's where he picked up. We have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, your name and where you're calling us from.
My name is Joseph. I'm calling from Brikama.
All right, Joseph from Brikama. Your thoughts on the Gambia missing out in the AFCON?
Yeah, I was listening very keenly to your presentation, and I learned a lot from it.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I just want to add a small token on the program.
Okay.
Pertaining to yesterday's game. Though we are all shocked and we are all disappointed. But I think my point of observation is the finishing touch by our strikers and our defense line as well. Our defense lines are making so many errors, and the captain as well.
Okay.
He need to have the final order, giving the command in the field.
Okay. Thank you very much for calling. Yes, just as I was saying before this caller came in, a lot of people saying Abubakar Bari, so, but his brother is his role model. He takes a lot of things from Hamza, as he said in the interview before the game against Comoros. But yeah, in a country where you have players like Ibu Adams, he's a top player for Derby County, Aruna Rashid Njai, starting week in, week out for RFS, at times deployed as a left back or as a defender, Mahmoudou Bajo, Abubakar Bari, Hamza Bari, Ablai Jallo, who can play as a 10 sometimes, Alassane Mane. What does it take to ensure that you get these players try to click in midfield? Let's get this call before you come in. Hello, good morning. Hello. Okay, we've lost that call. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, just like Seth said, I mean, in transition, it doesn't have to be like at once,
Yes.
but it's a gradual process that you have to take it up. So yes, Rashid, as you said, I mean, he's playing for the squad, but to me, he's playing at a wrong position, different from the midfield where we know him of. So having Ibu Adams there, I think, at some point have Ibu Adams, but again, he must be able to serve as a role model to these youngsters. I mean, trying to get them in. Some point pair him with Mahmoud.
Yes.
So, but again, you have to be honest to him that yes, you've done your best for the country, and still now you potential enough to go on. But we will have to pass the baton to somebody in the future.
Okay.
And
we have a caller on the line. We will be back with you, Yaya. Yes. Hello. Good morning.
Hello, bro.
You are fine.
Nagatu.
Santa Yala Bembari.
Kimbu Demba den disappointment. Bilay, why coach man ben option la am halfback.
Halfback ban la si right bi wala left bi?
Right bi gay.
Wow.
Bilay, ko daf ko na gene ñu ko mala nga test na ko gis na nu moy play nga daf ko wara gene mu dal kenen mu sen nakala pero nek di wo.
Okay, okay.
Bilay man fof rek la dawte ci coach man.
Okay.
We had one right back and Joseph was suspended.
All right. Joseph Cisse was a right back, while Joseph among the yellow card, so Monuta play Dema. Yes, yeah.
yes, so it's like a gradual transition. Yes, tell Ibu Adams the fact that you've done your best for the country, but also you aging, you will have to accept. So when you aging, the energy level that we give on the pitch are quite different.
Yes.
So you could see in the second half when these young lads came, I mean the energy they were giving was a bit different from the first half. So show him that yes, Mahmoudou is a young lad coming up. Give him all this support morally. I mean, give him all what you can do to help him to succeed.
Yeah.
But also up front, also we have very young players who are also coming.
Exactly.
So use let's say Musa Barrow to be an somebody who is going to be inspirator for them. So the likes of Adama, yes, I mean, he's also coming up now with grasshoppers. So with a bit of time in the national team, using the senior players as their role model, I think it's going to be better for the transition of the nation.
Exactly.
But also it's going to be better for the coach going forward.
Absolutely. Better for the coach going forward. Say, we are out of Morocco. USA, Mexico, and Canada might be a huge mountain to climb. Can we climb the mountain? For me, I don't think so. But in football, anything is possible. Finally, your thoughts about this national team. What is the way forward at the moment?
Yes, going to the World Cup has never been a realistic target for us, and I'm sure it is not going to be. And right now, if you look at the FIFA calendar dates, it is so full with international games, so that at the end of the day, you can build up teams, you can build up cohesion and all. It is not like, when are we going to have test matches, so on and so forth. Now, every calendar, there is, of course, a competitive game. So let's use this World Cup qualifiers to build up a team, to build up a very solid foundation with a clear philosophy, and then some of these players that are promising enough, exciting enough, give them a torch, give them a chance, give them the possibility to show what they can do. And I'm pretty sure come the next AFCON qualifiers, if you do it properly, we would qualify with even 1 or 2 games to spare, because whether we like it or not, the development of Gambian football from 2021 up to date in terms of player sale, in terms of player development, in terms of our young teams doing the absolute brilliant good things for us, it has been unprecedented. The only unfortunate thing has happened in 2024 where some of the young teams, the young category and the senior team have not qualified. But that is a blip. We can build up from the already great job that we have done along the years in order to propel us, and sometimes you need to stumble. Sometimes you need to have hard times to really reflect on what you have done and build from the positive, and that is where Gambia is. And all great nations have gone through this particular period of time. So let's build from the positives and move on. Although it is very disappointing for all of us, but we have enough positives to build from, and sometimes we can tell each other the truth, but from there, dust up and move on, rather than witch hunting, rather than this individual have not done his or her job, because it is through doing your job that you make mistakes, but learn from it and move forward.
Thank you very much, Sir. Yes, on a final note.
Yeah, setbacks are part of life, So it depends on how do you come back from those setbacks, because the comebacks are all the time very much greater.
Sure.
So yes, it has been not a good, year for the Gambia in football.
Absolutely.
But to me, it's like, how much do we learn from this year and be able to take it to the future?
Okay.
With good and proper planning, with having a cohesive environment of whereas we're going to share ideas together, I think the future remains very much bright for us. Only if we accept to learn from this year, then next year or years coming, we'll be having a team of consistency. So that is so important in football. So you need to have consistency based on the planning that you put up.
Thank you very much, Yahya Mane, and earlier on, Sheikh Tijan Gay. I'd like to thank you very much for honoring this interview and turning up to this platform. Thank you to the camera crew, and thank you to all those in the technical team. That's all we got time for till we come your way next weekend. Bye-bye.